so I'm Erica, I'm one of the geoscience for the class. Professor Kring is out of town today, so we will be doing, as you can hopefully tell, a Calvin and Hobbes themed lecture through ADHD and conduct disorder. So this kind of starts as, for those of you that are actually doing the reading ahead of time, in the textbook. This is the part of our class where we start talking about childhood disorders. And I always like giving this lecture because I study kids. I don't specifically study ADHD and conduct disorder, but it's a fun lecture to give. So let's start with a few announcements. All right, so this is just to think about the last few weeks of class. So you do not have class on Thanksgiving. I mean, I'm personally going to be in a food coma by about 11 a.m., but for those of you that are not, hopefully you still have a nice break. You've got 2 more weeks of section left. For those of you who are in the Tuesday and Wednesday sections, you don't have class next week. You guys had, but the Monday sections are meeting, because it's still too early to be on Thanksgiving break on Monday. And then exam 4, as you all know, which is mandatory for everyone, is on Thursday 4th, okay? All right, so we're doing comic quote for the day. I've got lots of comics for you to read. Do not feel pressured to read all of them at the expense of taking notes. I just got really excited about sharing fun comics with you guys today, so there's a lot of them. So as I said, the theme for today is Calvin and Hobbes. And for those of you who do not know or would like a reminder, Calvin is the 6-year-old star of a Calvin and Hobbes comic strip series, which focuses on young Calvin here and his toy tiger Hobbes and the adventures they get into because he imagines that Hobbes is a real life tiger. So if you're familiar with the comic, you know that Calvin has a tendency to get into a lot of trouble at home school, and so I thought Calvin and Hobbes would be a nice way to illustrate the symptoms and impairment that come along with both ADHD and conduct disorder diagnoses. All right, so today we're going to start a discussion of childhood disorders, and as your book notes, these are studied within the field of what's called developmental psychopathology. So as you might be able to guess from those 2 words, developmental psychopathology focuses on disorders that start in childhood and then examines them in the context of development over the lifespan, right? So as you know, your brain continues to develop all the way up until you're 25, and your brain's creating new synapses and doing pruning and all of that all the way up until you die. So really starting to think about, okay, well, if you start to develop this disorder in childhood, what does that do to your development, and how does that play out over, say, later childhood, adolescence, into adulthood, etc. And these are important because behaviors that are considered appropriate at one developmental stage might not be appropriate at others, right? So for example, let's say you throw a temper tantrum because you don't get what you want in the grocery store. That maybe will fly for 5, not so cool for 25. All right, so the most common childhood disorders are separated into 2 broad categories. So first, we call internalizing disorders, or disorders like depression and anxiety. And internalizing disorders involve inward-facing or internalizing symptoms, right? Things like withdrawal, anxiety, low mood, contrasted with things like externalizing disorders. So 2 of which we'll be talking about today, things like ADHD and conduct disorder that involve outward-facing or externalizing behaviors like aggression, overactivity, and impulsivity. All right, so we're going to be talking about 2 very important externalizing disorders, starting with ADHD. We're going to spend most of our time today talking about ADHD, which stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So while it's not uncommon for children to be hyperactive or constantly in motion, right, or inattentive, have difficulty concentrating or paying attention for long periods of time, when these problems are severe and they start to cause difficulty in different environments like at home or at school, then a child might meet criteria for ADHD. So current prevalence rates are that 3 to 7% of school-age children have ADHD worldwide, with more boys than girls getting the diagnosis. And so there's kind of this running joke among people who study ADHD or work with kids who have ADHD, like, oh, everyone under the age of 6 has ADHD. Again, because you want to be thinking about where in the course of development are these behaviors occurring and what is developmentally appropriate versus causing impairment beyond what you would expect to see for someone of a certain age. All right, so similar to the other diagnoses we've covered so far this semester, let's start by reviewing symptoms, etiology, or causal factors, and then we'll talk a little bit about treatments for ADHD. And as I mentioned, we're going to use Calvin as our example because he demonstrates a lot of behaviors that are consistent with an ADHD diagnosis. All right, so DSM-5, remembering that for the exams, we want you to know DSM-5 symptoms. DSM-5 defines ADHD by 2 main categories of symptoms. So guessing from the name of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, you can probably guess they cover 2 categories, right? So 1, inattention, and 2, hyperactivity or impulsivity. So let's start with inattention. So in order to meet criteria for ADHD, you need to have 6 or more symptoms of inattention or 6 or more symptoms of hyperactivity or impulsivity. Okay, so you can have both, and many children do. I'll talk about that in a second, but you need at least 6 symptoms in one of those categories to meet criteria for the diagnosis. They need to have lasted for at least 6 months, right? So it's something like, oh, I had a lot of sugar, so I'm feeling particularly hyper, having a hard time paying attention, or I'm tired, right? And so I'm having a hard time. But they have to have lasted for at least 6 months, and again, to a maladaptive degree, so it's causing some sort of impairment, and is greater than what is expected for the developmental level. All right, let me just say that all again. So for ADHD, 6 or more symptoms, and we're going to start with inattention or hyperactivity, impulsivity, lasted at least 6 months, maladaptive in some way, okay, and more than what is expected for the developmental age. All right, let's talk a little bit about inattention. So I'm just going to kind of tell you a little bit about the symptoms. This is covered in more detail in your textbook, but just to give you, there's a lot of different symptoms, right? Remember those boxes that Professor Kring has, those yellow boxes that are really nice inside the margins? Those have all the symptoms, so don't worry about writing all of these down right now. I just want to kind of get us all on the same page. So inattention, and this is the main category where in the comic you see Calvin showing symptoms. So things like failing to pay close attention to details, the obvious one, having trouble sustaining attention, doesn't seem to listen when people are speaking to you, frequently having trouble following through on instructions, or failing to finish school or work activities, having difficulty organizing tasks you need to do or activities you're planning, being reluctant to engage in any kind of activity that requires sustained attention. And for somebody that, everyone to a certain point is going to have some of this, right? But this is kids who can't even sit still for 5 minutes without needing a break or going off task. Also things like losing objects, so you can also see that disorganization is a big piece of this, being easily distracted by other things, and then being forgetful in daily activities. So lots of different elements of ways in which people have trouble paying attention, okay? All right, so let's think about if the person can also have 6 or more symptoms of hyperactivity and impulsivity. So these are things like being fidgety or restless during activities when other people are seated. So you can imagine, especially for a child, if you know anyone that has ADHD, if you have ADHD yourself, it's very difficult to sit still, even in a setting where you know you're supposed to be. Leaving your seat when inappropriate, that kind of follows the first one. Running about or climbing in situations where it's inappropriate. In adults, because adults can also have ADHD, even though we're focusing on childhood today, this doesn't look, adults don't usually start like climbing trees or climbing furniture as children might, but in adults, this can also look like just feeling very restless and unable to sit still. All right, so children also with hyperactivity and impulsivity symptoms have trouble playing quietly. They may be described as being on the go or being driven by a motor. They just can't stop moving. They talk too much. They blurt out answers before one's asked for. They interrupt other people, and they have difficulty waiting their turn. Right, so you can see that a lot of this just looks like a lot of movement, and then there's this impulsivity piece, which is sort of like they don't necessarily think before they act because they're driven by this motor. All right. Another criterion for ADHD, in addition to 6+ symptoms of one, the other, or both, is that they have to be present by age 12. So typically, the reason is that research shows that people who have a true diagnosis for ADHD, as opposed to just being maybe a little bit more on the hyperactive side, a little bit more on the inattentive side, is that they start to show these symptoms pretty early. So people who meet criteria for ADHD, even if it goes undiagnosed, which we do see a lot of, now there's some people, they're functioning pretty well, they get to college, and they realize having a really hard time getting through lecture. They go and they see DSP, it actually turns out they meet criteria for ADHD. Usually those people who meet a full diagnosis say, you're right, like I always kind of had trouble sitting still, and they can trace back even if they were milder symptoms. Okay? Calvin is 6, so he meets this criterion as well. All right, so of course, right, some of you might be thinking, so do I have ADHD? Right? I have a lot of these symptoms. Or you might also be thinking, these are things, again, that are typical for being a child. So as we've learned with the other disorders we've talked about all semester, a key issue is impairment, and to what degree symptoms get in the way of daily functioning. So not only do you have to show 6 symptoms of inattention and or 6 symptoms of hyperactivity for at least 6 months, these need to be causing trouble in your everyday life, but the child needs to be unable to function the way that you would expect for their developmental age. Okay, so going along with that, you need to see impairment, and you need to see it in at least 2 settings. So the reason that's important, right, is because let's say a child is generally inattentive at school, but they go home and they can pay attention just fine. They can sit them down, they can play for hours on their own, they're not getting into trouble, you take them out to the store, they're fine, with their friends, they're fine. So the reason that the thinking behind that is, well, that might not be ADHD, maybe there's something about school that's making that child inattentive. Maybe it actually turns out that the child has a reading or a math disorder, and that's why they can't pay attention because they can't follow what's happening in class, or it's really hard for them. Okay, so let's go through some of the types of impairment. And again, similar to other disorders we've talked about, you see these in whatever domains of functioning are appropriate for the person. So things like your social life, your work life, if you have, you're old enough to have a job, your academic job functioning. All right. So, for example, children with ADHD often experience social problems or peer rejection. So things like getting teased or rejected by peers, because often what happens is these kids are seen as annoying. Right? Let's say you're in the classroom, and this is, you're annoyed by the kid who can't stop calling out, who can't stop just like climbing on things, who can't sit in their seat and getting a lot of the teacher's attention. What you also see is that children with ADHD often miss social cues. So they don't realize that they're really annoying other people. They just don't notice it. They're really excited. They push somebody to be first in line for dodgeball. Other kids are like, hey, that's really annoying. But the ADHD child might not notice that it's happening. Children with ADHD also tend to overestimate their ability to get along with other people. So if you ask a child with ADHD how much they think their classmates like them, they're going to rank it much higher than is actually true. Also see academic underachievement or having a hard time doing well in school, right? And again, it's important to note out, this is not necessarily because the child is not intelligent or isn't capable of doing well in school, but because they're having a hard time paying attention, or they're just always moving and doing a lot of impulsive things, they're not doing as well in school as they necessarily should or could. We also see compromised parent-child interactions, right? And if you know, again, if you have ADHD or maybe you know someone with ADHD, right, this can be a hard child parent, particularly for children who are higher on the spectrum or have a more severe form of disorder. They have a hard time paying attention, they have a hard time at school and at home, maybe the teacher's calling the parent a lot about their child's misbehavior at school, so this can also impact family functioning. Children, again, with ADHD tend to have a lot of accidents, because they're being really impulsive, so they don't think before they act, or they're not paying attention, and so they're just kind of careless in the way that they do things, more accident-prone. Definitely have lower independence or difficulty doing things on their own, because oftentimes children with ADHD need a lot of monitoring to make sure, again, because of the inattention and impulsivity, they're not getting into trouble. And unfortunately, one thing, as you might already be thinking, is if you're having a lot of these symptoms, right, 6+ symptoms is a lot. And if you're one of the children who has the sort of combined type of ADHD, where you've got 6+ symptoms of both inattention and hyperactivity and impulsivity, this is going to impact how you feel about yourself. So often what you find in kids with ADHD is they have decreased self-esteem. All right, so some changes in DSM-5 for ADHD. So first, there's some impulsivity symptom changes. So what they did was basically before running about or climbing used to be part of the on-the-go symptom, and now it's its own separate symptom, just because some people seem to show one versus the other. And then they took out a few other symptoms. It's not particularly important for you to know. In terms of the age criteria, I mentioned before, you need to show some of these symptoms before the age of 12, and it used to be before the age of 7. And the reason that they raised the age criterion by 5 years in DSM-5 is because that seemed to better capture the course of ADHD. I've already mentioned 6+ symptoms. That continues to be true for children. That's the same as it was in DSM-4. But in DSM-5, one switch is that if you're an adult being diagnosed with ADHD, you just need 5 symptoms. Okay? An adult, as defined by the DSM-5, is age 17+. Okay? So if you're at least 17, you just need 5 symptoms of one, the other, or both. And I kind of started to hint at this, that there are these subtypes, right? So there used to be, if you met the criteria for the inattentive type, that was called the inattentive subtype of ADHD. If you had the hyperactivity and impulsivity symptoms, it was the hyperactivity impulsivity subtype. If you had both, it was called the combined subtype. So instead, basically, they just took away the formal idea of subtypes, and now they're just specifiers. So it's the same thing, so now if you are what used to be called the inattentive type, now you get the specifier predominantly inattentive presentation. Yeah, sure. Oh, so that's right. So her question is, let's say a child was 12 when they got evaluated, and they hadn't shown symptoms up to age 7, right? So in DSM-4, maybe they didn't meet criteria because we've upped the age limit now. But now let's say they're 15, so they're kind of on the cusp of the adult versus the child version of the disorder. Which one are they diagnosed with? That's a great question. So you actually still get the same diagnosis, right? The criteria are just different for adults and children. There's no like child subtype of ADHD versus adult subtype. Okay, so you get the specifier of either predominantly inattentive, predominantly hyperactive, impulsive, predominantly combined. It just sort of the number of symptoms that you need depends on the age. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And what's important to know here is that most people meet criteria, particularly children, for the combined subtype. Right? So that's a lot of symptoms. You're showing at least 12 symptoms across those two categories. All right, so differential diagnosis of ADHD. So one of the very tricky things about diagnosing ADHD is that problems like having trouble concentrating, being impatient, having difficulty completing tasks, or staying organized can be mistaken for symptoms of other disorders. So let's think a little bit more about these ADHD symptoms we started to talk about. Have you seen some of these symptoms elsewhere in the semester? As you're hearing them, are you thinking of other disorders that you've learned the criteria for, and so which ones? Yeah. Generalized anxiety disorder, sure, so anxiety disorders. Everyone's like, I forgot all the other criteria. We're moving on to exam 4, it's not cumulative. All right, so here's some of the other things we're thinking about, right? Remember also in depression, one of the main criteria is having difficulty concentrating or exhibiting memory problems. Right? You already pointed out anxiety, so difficulty concentrating, being easily distracted, right? Feeling restless, maybe procrastinating or avoiding things you need to do. People who've experienced trauma, so thinking about PTSD, right? Again, difficulty concentrating, easily distracted, trouble sleeping. And then also the mania symptoms that we see in bipolar disorder. So again, inattention, impulsivity, being fidgety or talking too much, right? So this brings up another point in making a diagnosis of ADHD, right? Is the stability of symptoms or how frequent they are, right? So we talked about, you need to see them in multiple settings, but what's important to know is that these occur often and on a regular basis. So you see it across settings, but you also see it all the time, right? It's not just that the child, is inattentive at home and school, but no matter where they are, they're always showing these symptoms of inattention. Okay? And again, this makes sense, even though the criteria say you have to show it in at least 2 settings. These two go together, okay? So often not episodic and at least 2 domains of functioning. Okay? And we do know that ADHD has high comorbidity with other disorders, right? There's evidence that 30% of kids with ADHD also have comorbid internalizing disorders like depression and anxiety. Why might that make sense? Not knowing any of the research. If I say 30% of people with ADHD also have depression and anxiety. Yeah, right? That's hard to be inattentive and or hyperactive and impulsive, right? It's hard to have trouble with your peers. You don't understand why they don't like you because you think you're just having fun and you're really excited and really active, right? It's hard not to do well in school or to have trouble at home. Your parents were always basically telling you to sit still and pay attention, right? Is that the way that our education system works, the things that are adaptive for kids who are in school, is very hard for a child with ADHD, particularly if you've got the combined type. All right, let's see if I can get this to work. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to watch a short video. It's about 5 minutes just to illustrate what ADHD symptoms and their effects look like. In one particular case, this child's name is Kenzie. Start with this jazzy intro here. Get excited.
His teacher told me that she did not expect as much out of Kenzie because he had ADHD.
Some people think that it's dumb, and it's not. It's just for people that have a hard time calming down.
They're just as smart. They're just as loving. They're just as caring. They have more energy.
It's one of those things that sometimes people don't believe that it exists, and will treat people who have this difficulty, treat kids particularly, as if what's going on with them is something that they have control over.
When he is off of his medicine, he's careless, he's clumsy, he is very pushy, he has a hard time waiting his turn, he's interruptive. He takes toys apart, completely disassembles them to beyond repair. You know, I ask him, Kenzie, why do you do this? And he doesn't know.
It's hard to control yourself, and you get in a lot of trouble.
A lot of kids will need some external support, organizational supports to make sure that they can do things when they need to do them.
Kenzie has to have a lot of structure. He has to have a lot of guidance. He has to have a lot of reminders. He has to have somebody there constantly coaching him to get through whatever it is that he's doing. But the doctor just raised him from 30 milligrams to 50 milligrams. And he takes that in the morning. When he gets home from school, he takes 20 milligrams of Adderall to help him get through homework and his afternoon routine. And he takes Ristoril at night before about 8 o'clock I give it to him. If Kenzie doesn't have the medicine to help him sleep, he'll be up for 2 or 3 days.
It's hard for me to go to sleep and stay in my bed.
It can be a challenge to get the right balance for dosages, etc.
Sometimes the medicine doesn't work. You have to really work with it a little bit.
For the children for whom it works, it can be like a miracle.
ADHD is not just something that happens to the child. ADHD is something that happens to the family. The doctors come in and well, here's your prescription, and they're on their way. There needs to be more guidance to the parents too.
Yesterday, I was about to say what answer for my teacher, and I had to say, oh, I forgot. Everybody kept looking at me.
We have all had to make adjustments in our lives because of the ADHD, but as far as the relationships, no. We still love him just as much now as we did before.
From seeing this video? I mean, it's a very short glimpse of like one case. Nothing stands out? Yeah? Sure, so she's pointing out finding the right medication or finding the treatment that works. Yeah, right, that could be really hard for, as we pointed out before, it can be hard for the parents. Like this child, and mom's pointing out this child with a lot of structure, needs a lot of attention, like, could also just be like annoying, right? But that's your child, yeah, yeah. Do we not all have energy drinks before bed? Is that not like a standard thing? Yeah, that's usually the number one thing people notice about this, right? It's like, hey, this kid's really amped up. Why are you giving him something that's like really amping him up more? Which, I mean, no one knows exactly why Kenzie's mom does that, but there actually may be benefits. That actually might help him calm down. We're going to talk about why that is with different medications, yeah. Sure. So her question, which is a really great one, is how does a therapist distinguish between a child who's quote-unquote poorly raised and a child who has ADHD? Right? So some of it, you're right, is behavioral. We're going to talk again about that in a few minutes when we start talking about treatments for ADHD, right? A lot of what children learn becomes reinforced through operant conditioning, right? So going back to the learning principle that you've been learning about since the beginning of the semester, right? So some of that behavior is reinforced. But the way that you would notice is one thing that's really helpful, and again, talk about this in a second, with ADHD is doing parent training. It's teaching parents basically like reinforce positive behaviors and ignore the ones that you don't want to occur. And with a child with ADHD, that usually helps. But usually even children who are quote-unquote, again, poorly raised don't have this many symptoms, right? It's like, yeah, they might misbehave, right? Maybe you can't control them, they don't listen to you. That doesn't mean they're necessarily inattentive. They could just have a lot of energy and don't care what you think, right? You're not necessarily going to see this many symptoms, but you probably approach it the same way, which is train the parents to be more effective. Yeah, thanks for bringing that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about known etiological factors in ADHD. So genetics, right? This is just a comment about parenting, which we know is not genetic, but I just liked it and wanted to share. All right, so ADHD is highly heritable, about 70 to 80% heritable, so it's about as heritable as height, which is pretty high. And so given this, it's not surprising that about 30% or more of biological parents of children with ADHD also show symptoms of ADHD. A lot of environmental risk factors, okay? So things that are known are things like low birth weight. So children who are either born prematurely, which can lead to low birth weight, or just weren't able to gain enough weight in the womb, they are more predisposed to exhibiting ADHD later in life. One thing that your book points out is that this can be buffered by maternal warmth or affection. So it has to be something like there's a really particularly warm relationship between the mother and the child, even if the child was born with low birth weight, that decreases risk. And again, none of these are deterministic, right? Doesn't mean if you were born, maybe some of you are like, oh, I was born kind of on the low side, do I have ADHD? No, right? None of these are absolute, but we're just thinking about risk factors, okay? Also maternal smoking in pregnancy, right? That's a big one. And that's bad for lots of reasons, as you can imagine, but where it really seems to affect children in terms of ADHD is that it seems to affect the dopamine system. Keep coming back to dopamine, right, when we're thinking about substance use, and that leads to hyperactivity and impulsivity. Also, your book points out higher levels of lead in the blood may or may not be associated with ADHD. The research is kind of mixed, and generally most kids who have higher blood lead levels don't develop ADHD, so there's not a ton of evidence for it. And then there's also been some research that seems to suggest that things like food additives, artificial food coloring, refined sugar, etc., that these cause hyperactive behavior. That sounds sort of like something you hear in the media, right? Like, oh, it's too much sugar. There's not a lot of evidence for that. I mean, obviously having too much sugar can make you hyperactive. It doesn't necessarily, quote unquote, cause ADHD. Okay? Also,